Welcome back. Dawn, we've heard a little bit about the link, and what I want to ask you now is, I know that the link has done so much throughout the past 2 years in our community. Can you tell us just a little bit about those things that the link has done?
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing, and being on the foundation part of this journey, no way did I ever think we'd be sitting here at this point having this conversation about the life transformation that we've seen happen within our community. And I know that we serve a big God, and I believe He's a big God, but I guess I just didn't get the concept that He would use me as part of this process. And so I say that recognizing that it's in my own brokenness that we have gotten to be able to come this far, because the reality is I mess up, you know, and so we have seen God grace us with 588 people who have walked through our door this past year since we've opened up the center. And we're only open 3 days a week, 8:30 to 4:30. And we've seen a lot of those lives transformed. A little over 300 of them came in unemployed to us. 90 of them then had jobs at the end of the year. So we have about a 28% employment rate, which is absolutely incredible. We were able to impact about 60 inmates with our Jobs for Life class. Approximately 30 of them were able to graduate before they moved on to either being released or moved into another community or went on to prison. So we were grateful for the opportunity to share with them who they are in Christ, how God created them for work, and then give them the skills that they need to be able to be successful in the workplace. We also had 114 volunteers this year that gave over 3,000 hours. I think it's 3,500 hours they put in this past year. 120 volunteer mentors for the kids in our local schools. Yeah, and we're in, I think, 6 schools now for volunteers in public schools, investing in at-risk elementary age students. Our total number of impact for this last year was 1,100 people.
Wow.
Which is just incredible to really get your mind around, and where I try not to go because it just is overwhelming, but at the same time, we realize we need to consider the fact that there's a ripple effect that happens with that. And so every person that was impacted, they've got a family member that's also been impacted by that, and the generations to come will be impacted by that. And so the number just becomes huge. But what we are really trying to help people recognize this year is that it's not all about the numbers. And these are really great successes for us, and we're excited about that. But this is just a small part of a much larger vision that we believe that God has for us for this coming year.
Well, I know it has been amazing to see the numbers of the lives that have been transformed, and the way that this organization has really touched and changed our community is just unbelievable. And it certainly took God-sized power to make these things happen in our community. So tell us a little bit about the vision for the link moving forward.
So really the vision for us has come from several different really authors and experts within the field that have helped us to realize that if we're going to be speaking the language of love to our neighbors, that we need to be considering what that language looks like. And so there's a Gallup poll that was done starting in 2005. The organization decided they wanted to find out what the whole world wanted. And while doing that poll, just 6 years in, the CEO said that they truly believe they've figured out what the whole world wanted. And what do you think they came up with in that?
Well, I know the answer, but I would think that it would be money or love or probably something superficial in our society today.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so the answer to that was good jobs.
Which is unbelievable.
Yeah, what's on the mind of everyone in the whole world is that they want good jobs. And so if that's what the language of love is to people, we need to make a shift. We need to, the community needs to, we need our supporters to engage in this, in the idea that we've got to move ourselves from transactional to relational. We need to stop focusing in on the programs and start being people-centered. We need to stop competing with one another and collaborate with one another. And so the focal point for us for this coming year is really going to be focusing in on employment. And we're going to do that in a very collaborative, very relational, and very people-centered way, recognizing that the person that comes to see us may have a solution in mind. They have gifts and talents and passions, and they have something that they can bring to the relationship that we can work with them, and they might just need some tweaks to that. They might need some encouragement, some mentoring and all of that. But the reality is everything we do, from the at-risk child in the elementary school, the teen who is stuck in the cycle of poverty and thinks that there's no way out of it because their parents, mama and them,
Yes.
have been in this for years. The adult that's either stuck in prison, a literal prison, or a spiritual or emotional prison, they can't see where that is. All of those directly correlate to the person's ability to be able to do work. And so we realize that the work is not really the issue. It's not the job, it's the identity. It's who that person believes they are. And we know who God created them to be. And they've got those gifts and passions and talents, and they have a very specific purpose, and God has a plan for them. And so we're going to partner with God and partner with them this year to lead people into that employment piece. And so this year, really, we're going to be listening into our community a lot more. We're not going to be really establishing a lot more programs to what we do. We have those. But what we need to do is try and partner with some of employers. And if there are employers out there, we need them to engage with us to figure out the why. Why is it that people either can't get work or can't sustain the job? And then let's start talking about how do we overcome those barriers? What can we do as a community to help eliminate some of those, like the transportation issues, the monetary issues that sometimes come with a job, like a certification or something along those lines. The character building, we know that we can address that with our Jobs for Life program, but we're not sure that it is the end-all be-all. There is no silver bullet to this issue, so it's got to be multifaceted and it's got to be holistic in whatever way we decide to approach that. So this year is really going to be part of hearing into our employers, hearing from our neighbors what their needs are, and then trying to pull all of that together so that by the end of the year we're really able to focus in on what our really menu of services is going to look like, so that we're building character in people to prepare them for the workplace.
Right. I think it's amazing that, you know, people take for granted the pride that you get from being able to provide for your family.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine how it would feel, particularly for men who are traditionally the
Yes.
providers in the homes, to lose your job and be unable to find work, and how that would really spiritually wound you and hurt your pride, and to have to go and ask for help would probably just literally take all that you had.
Yeah.
And so the fact that this organization is really praying into that and really looking for opportunities to foster people into building their pride back up in themselves,
Right.
as God intended,
Yes.
so that they can work as God intended and provide for their families, is really a wonderful blessing for our community.
Yes, and so we've even seen that in our numbers. You were talking about the men, and we have way more women that come in to see us than we do men, because at some point the woman's going to say, I got babies I got to take care of, I need help. But the men, they deal with shame. And so we see that not only in our numbers of who is not coming to see us, but we see the numbers in the jail.
Yes.
And so there's so many men in our local prison, and they are separated from their families and who they are and who God created them to be, because men were created to lead and to lead their families well. And so we want to reconnect that, because Jesus is in the reconciliation business. We want to be a part of that. We want to partner with Jesus in that. And so there's this huge missing piece, this missing connection piece that we as an organization need to take a closer look at as well, in how we can really speak to the needs of a man. And hopefully God will continue to answer that through this next year. And then as far as the women go, we've recognized in our stats, we shared this during our event today, half of our households are single moms that are in poverty. I mean, that's astounding to me. And these poor single moms who have kids, running around at their feet, trying to keep their household together. And so many of them struggle with that, even just making a minimum wage to be able to feed the kids around them. And, we both have 4-year-olds, you've got a 7-year-old now. And so, I mean, to be able to sit, to look at that child and say, no, I don't have food for you tonight. No, I'm sorry that the electricity is not going to be on tonight. I mean, no, we don't have running water. That, to me, as a mother, has to be the most heart-wrenching thing, to look at your child in the eyes and say that. And when you think about those situations where the man is out of the home and he's doing whatever he's doing at the moment, and the woman's trying to take care of that, that all leads to stress. And stress sooner or later leads to desperation. And desperation leads to all kinds of different activities. And so there's no, in my mind, I understand why we've got drug abuse in our community. I understand why our women are going out and prostituting themselves, because that's the only way for them to have money and make it feasible for them to be able to provide for their families. It doesn't feel good for them. They're not excited about that. They don't get up and go to work and go, yay, I get to give my body away to somebody tonight. That's shameful to them. But they do it because they've got children that they're trying to provide for. And we hear that time and time again out of women in this community. And it's almost been a faux pas, like, no, that can't be here in Coleman, but the reality is it is. And sooner or later, we've got to embrace that and realize that there are going to be a lot of hurting women and hurting kids, because they're seeing this struggle going on with their mom and then the vacancy of their dad. And so we need to figure out ways to speak into that.
Yes. Well, I know that it's creating, like I've said, amazing life transformation. So what if there's someone out there that really wants to help? What can our community do to help the link plow ahead in this mission and vision?
Well, at the end of our event today, we asked them several ways to engage with us. We asked for people to pray with us. There's nothing that we have accomplished this far that wasn't bathed in prayer. And so we need everybody praying for us, for direction, for wisdom, for guidance. We need to hear from God. And we are the type of organization that we don't move until God says go. And so that can sometimes be hard, because you got to be patient in that. But if we know that people are praying with us, so we need prayer leaders, people who will partner with us in prayer, and we would love to hear from you if you're interested in that. We also are looking for partnerships. We need employers, we need schools, we need just your average Joe to consider partnering with us in what we do. But those leaders within our community, we need to work on ways that we can maximize our resources in what we do. And so you might have gifts and talents to bring to the table as a leader within our community, and I may have gifts and talents as a leader within our community, but together we can do so much more for the people who are really needing it. And so we want to partner with those who are willing to do that. We also are interested in trying to gain a few more volunteers. We've had 114 this past year, which is wonderful, but we are not quite a volunteer-led organization because most of the work gets done by staff, which is great, and they are wonderful shepherds and stewards of our time and money, but we do need more volunteers, especially men, to be able to mentor the men within our community and be a role model to them. There's just something very special about a man speaking life into another man that I, as a woman, and the rest of my staff, who are all women, cannot do. And so that is a missing piece for us. So we really need men to engage. And then financially support us as well. And financial support for us, we were really excited to see, isn't as much as what some people may think for life transformation. Sometimes we think that the work that is longer term can cost a little bit more, and there is. It's a longer term investment in some ways. But this past year, our expenses were about $157,000. We impacted about 1,100 lives. That ends up being somewhere around $142.50 approximately. We end up then spending about 15 hours per person or a group of people. Now keep in mind, some of our programs and services cost just a little bit more because of the workbooks that we need or the educational tools in those different areas. But for the most part, for $9.52, you could give 1 hour to somebody who needs their life transformed forever. That's all it would take. And so we've been challenging our community now to consider, how many people do you want to impact? How many lives? And when you really even think about that, we're saying 2. We've given that as an example, 2 people, but you're not really just impacting 2 people. You're impacting that whole family. So if you just pick those 2, let's say 2 lives, and you times that by our $9.52, let's say $10 an hour, times that by the 15 hours of investment that you make, that's about $300, divide that by 12, that ends up becoming $25 a month. I mean, that's what? A night out to the movies that we don't need to go to because we can go to Redbox instead. Right. So that's what we're asking from people. If they would consider just partnering with us monthly. We've received bigger gifts and we make that stretch, but right now our monthly giving is only about 1/3 of our budget, and that becomes very difficult for us as an organization to really do any kind of long-term thinking. Right now we're geared up for about 3 months into this year. We're at about month 3, so it's getting to that crucial point. But we need organizations that are willing, and people, individuals who have a heart for what we're doing and to partner with us for the long term. Because the reality is there's no silver bullet to this. Right. And people's lives are messy, and we need to be able to be with them for the long term in their ups and their downs. And so that long-term investment can really make a difference for us.
So if you could tell, if anyone out there wants to give or donate, what are the ways that they can donate to the Link of Coleman County?
There's a couple of different ways. You can always drop off the check at the center, and actually we do have folks that love to do it that way, and we're happy to receive it. You could send a check to us. Our address is 1101 3rd Avenue Southeast. And we're in Coleman, Alabama, 35055. We're actually located in the old St. John's Little Lambs building. So you can come visit us there. And then we take online donations as well. And all donations are tax deductible. We are a 501c3 organization. So that always helps out with the IRS as well. But those are the 3 main ways that you're able to donate.
Well, wonderful. Again, thank you for all that the Link of Coleman County does for our community and for the many ways that the organization is transforming lives daily. And thank you for joining us today, and we'll be back in just a moment.